I am in, I'm the abbot of the Sai Shoji Temple in Nara Prefecture. It is a temple of the Honganji branch of Jodoshin School. As mentioned in the morning, I was working with Reverend Noro and 10 other people, including some priests as well as people unrelated with Buddhism, working to provide consultation for suicidal people. We launched an organization called the Kyoto Suicide Consultation Center, and I was doing that consulting work for quite a while. I'm still the president of that Suicide Consultation Center in Kyoto, but I felt something as I was doing that work. In our society in Japan now, we really do not have much social concern or interest for people struggling with suicidal thoughts. As Ms. Matsuzaki mentioned, politics and for the people in decision-making positions, the issues of people struggling with suicidal thoughts are not very high on their priority list. When we look at the budgeting of the government, we notice that very little government money goes to prevent suicide. And the way that even that limited budget is used raises many questions. We wonder about how the limited funds are used. We operate this consultation center with a budget of about 10 million yen or $100,000. Half of that is subsidies. It is a volunteer-based organization, but to be honest, we are trying, in order to walk alongside the people who are at risk of suicide or who are struggling with bereavement of people who died in their family, volunteer level is not enough. To really be able to help these people, we need professionals who can really become expert in dealing with those needs. But how can we do that? One approach was to get more subsidies. Another was to get more donations. But I was trying to think of a mechanism to raise funds to support our suicide prevention work. My conclusion was to make a company, a renewable energy company called TERA Energy. And I'd like to tell about what we are doing today. As a company, as a business, we have a connection with society. And I find that a Buddhist philosophy and point of view can be very effective in doing this business. And I'd like to share about that today. Our company is called TERA Energy Corporation. What we do is to create warm connections. That's what we're trying to do. This logo mark should be explained. Many people are Buddhists here, so you might understand it right away. There's a white lotus expressing the enlightenment of the Buddha in the middle. And then you can see two types of light coming out. They express compassion and wisdom. TERA Energy, the name means the following. TERA is the Japanese word for a temple. And TERA is also a unit for terabyte. It has the image of a very vast amount of energy. And TERRA has the meaning of earth. So I'm implying a connection with the earth and with environment in this name. That's why we chose this name, TERA Energy, for our company. Why should a priest launch an electricity company? I explained my personal motivation. I wanted to raise funds for our suicide consultation center. That was the main motivation. However, not only me, but three other priests joined me in this initiative. Reverend Honda, standing next to me here, is interested in Buddhism and the environment and has been doing research on that for more than 20 years. He was interested in the environment, especially climate change and CO2 emission reductions. From a Buddhist perspective, he feels that Buddhist philosophy can be the basis for a dramatic change in the way we relate to our environment. And he was hoping to achieve that ideal through the company. The other two members are really interesting, amazing people, but due to lack of time, I won't be able to explain about them. So we four Buddhist priests, each pursuing our own goals, decided to come together to make this company called TERA Energy. It's this kind of a company. So the main issues that we're trying to working on is the issue of loneliness. Also, we're working on addressing climate crisis. Furthermore, at the root of all of these problems is that of disparity. And there's a fundamental tendency for us to compare ourselves with others and to discriminate against others. This is the most fundamental issue at the root of our many problems. When we think about the present society, as Reverend Yamashita said, she said, we need to give up on this paradigm of capitalism. I feel similar to that. Our existing capitalist society is a mechanism to actually increase suffering in many ways. In terms of energy, Japan uses a massive amount of fossil fuel to generate electricity, but one wonders why we should have to dig out coal and petroleum overseas and carry it all the way by boat to Japan, and then burn it and turn the turbine to make electricity. Rather than doing that, we should be able to make better use of the natural energy we have in Japan. We have many mountains and oceans. We are an archipelago of many islands. We could use the rivers running down from the mountains. We can use the abundant sunlight. We can use the wind more and more. And certainly we should be able to produce much more energy. Why should we take this roundabout approach of importing fossil fuels? The self-defense forces are also being justified to protect the sea lanes to transport the fossil fuels to Japan. If we are no longer dependent on fossil fuels, we wouldn't need a large military. This mechanism of society in Japan is based on competing for wealth and taking energy sources from other countries. And our society tries to increase desire for consumption and get people to consume more and waste more. Furthermore, as Ms. Reverend Yoshimitsu and Ms. Matsuzaki said, we are living a life controlled by the politicians and the economic system. In order to overcome this and to shift into another direction, TERA Energy is trying to provide an alternative service. From a broader perspective, let me reflect on what we are trying to do. We want to make a world where each and every person in the world is valued and in which everyone can live comfortably and can also die without fear. In other words, to make a long story short, we want a society where everyone is happy. Of course, happiness may be taken in various ways, but So what are the important points to create such a world where we can live happily? Our answer is to be focused on the quality of our interconnections. We don't even have to go into Buddhism to talk about this. We are existing through the connections, through the pratitya samutpada. Sometimes we suffer or feel uncomfortable. If all of our connections were uncomfortable and painful, naturally it would be difficult for us to live. But if we could change the quality of the connections into those that feel warm or comfortable or comforting, or if the connections make our hearts lighter, if we can make more connections that warm the heart, then we can all enjoy, a more meaningful and rewarding life and face death better also. There are 3 services that we are trying to provide with that goal of creating warm connections. The first is to collect donations for our suicide consultation center. We are providing electricity, the price of which partly goes for donations. I think actually donations are a quick way to become happy. At school and in our lives, we have tended to think that we would be happier if we had more things, especially if we had more things than other. We've been imprinted that way. This may be the reverse of the truth. Actually, the more we share what we have with others, the happier we can be. When I have lunch with my friends, I always try to share what I'm having with them and also have them share with me. And that makes a more enjoyable lunch. Actually, we humans are made differently. Capitalism tends to define happiness as having more, but actually people feel more happiness when they're sharing rather than when they're hoarding. That's why I thought of this approach of having part of the electricity bill go as a donation. Secondly, we want to create electricity that doesn't pollute the air. We're using fully renewable energy from solar, wind, etc. Thirdly, many of us have been influenced by the thought of capitalism. To attract people whose mentality is still very much steeped in capitalism, we are trying to provide electricity at a reasonable price that is attractive, even price-wise. Let me talk about electricity where part of the bill goes to a donation. We're creating a cycle that is not based on desire. Rather than competing, we want to create a sharing society. But there are people who have never donated before. Even if we encourage them to do that, they might feel that the hurdle is high. But people who have learned the joy of sharing become very generous. We want to get more people into this. In our company, if you sign up for electricity, part of your money will naturally be donated. And even then, your electricity bill is not too high. Even though you have a reasonable electricity charge, you can still make some donation. That's the system that we made. We want our donations to go to nonprofits like ours who have not enough funds, such as the Hitosaji no Kai, helping homeless people who spoke this morning. We want to we want many people to use the system so that part of their money will go to meaningful causes. This electricity with donations is a method that anybody can get involved in. 2.5% of the electricity bill paid to our company will be donated to different nonprofits working for social good. That money will be used to support many valuable activities. Also, we can inform our customers, how their money is being used very effectively to do meaningful things. And people will learn how joyful it is to share from what we have. So this is our service of electricity, where part of the bill goes as a donation. A lot of nonprofits who are struggling with fundraising really appreciate this mechanism that we have established. We donate to our suicide consultation center. There were some elderly women who heard Greta talking about climate change, and they said, we can't be sitting doing nothing. And these elderly ladies in Tokushima Prefecture launched their own renewable energy business. I'm working with them. Also, we donate some of our money to Shanti, which is a Buddhist NGO promoting education in Southeast Asia. We're also donating to many other projects, for instance, those working in the disaster areas after the earthquake. We're trying to increase the number of NGOs supported to 100 organizations or so. Also, we're really focusing on the type of energy we procure and sell to our customers. We don't want to use fossil fuel energy or nuclear energy. It shouldn't be used. There's plenty of natural energy, available to us for free. It's much more practical to use that natural energy. And naturally, that is more sustainable. So we're really focusing on procuring renewable energy. I mentioned the teaching of the Buddha, be a light unto yourself, be a refuge unto yourself here. Depending on the region, there may be, if we're relying on our resources or energy from elsewhere, we become dependent and obedient to power. So it's much better, rather than relying on others, we should try to live in an environment where we control things ourselves. And part of that is using the energy available right around us. Just by switching to TERA energy, you can use energy that is only procured from renewable sources. Here's the present situation. 80% of the electricity we provide is from renewable energy. There are certain types of renewable energy that are not so good, such as mega solar. And there's also a so-called renewable energy generated by burning chips from overseas. We are not procuring from such sources. We are trying to procure only from truly renewable energy sources. Just by switching your electricity source, you can combat climate change, and you can avoid using power from nuclear power plants. Thirdly, we're aiming for a reasonable electricity charge. It may sound simple, but Mr. Honda, who was talking about Buddhism and environment, gave many talks, and I was listening to them, but it didn't really ring a bell to me before. Some people say that global warming doesn't really happen. In the early days, I used to doubt about global warming, but the more I learned, the more I realized that how important it is to reduce CO2 emissions and protect the climate. And I realized how important it is to use renewable energy. I think it's, however, unfortunately, the media and those in power know that Japan still depends a lot on fossil fuel and conventional energy sources. So the media is not eager to talk about the use of renewable energy. So people like me who originally did not have much information tend to be influenced by the media and what they say. Even if people are working really hard to promote renewable energy, I didn't realize its benefits. So saying that your electricity bill will be cheaper is one way of drawing people's attention. So we will get people to first switch over to TERA Energy's electricity because of the cheaper bill. I'll also explain that you can donate to good causes and also reduce the CO2 emissions, use renewable energy, and contribute to a better society. So we've been able to achieve reasonable price despite relying only on renewable energies. People get a sense that they're able to do something close to their heart, address the climate change, live without nuclear power, and even save money on their electricity bill. So it's a simple way for people to contribute to society. I want people with different stances and different points of view to get involved and get on the bandwagon. Once people get involved, they might realize this is really nice. They might have an aha experience. Making a mechanism where everyone can be involved is important. When I was doing consulting for the suicidal people, people were worried that I would get burned out and get very depressed. But actually, I get more energized by consulting for people with concerns like that. I hope this can be a mechanism that will go beyond the borders of our particular Buddhism and religion. And we want to aim for further diversity as a new challenge.